We are here today as co-organizers of this panel, together with our partners from Romanian Association from Security Education and Security Culture. This panel is the second session of the Black Sea Maritime Cybersecurity Conference 2020, organized by the Maritime University of Constanța. An online marathon, as the organizers had called it, that started 1 week ago, is continuing today and will be followed by 2 more sessions until the end of this week. I would say that at this point, we are running in the second shift of a long race, at the end of which we hope to conclude that the cyber world we live in is still a safe or at least a manageable place for all of us. Our organization promotes, sustains, and disseminates guidelines, analysis, policies, and strategies in the field of security, defense, and intelligence. We organize customized forms of culture and education, as well as research and innovation in our areas of expertise. This conference is a real endeavor, which was initiated 4 years ago by a group of enthusiastic people, members of a flourishing community around the Constanța Maritime University's Cyber Security Center. And this year, we are part of the 4th edition, intending to address the real issues cybersecurity policymakers and professionals are facing today as modern technology evolves in a fast pace, looking ahead to 2030. Anyway, I think Professor Gabriel Raicu, Vice Rector for Research, is here today with us. He's the head of CMU's Cybersecurity Center, the founder of this conference, and I would say the clear mind that drives this academic vessel throughout a highly turbulent cybersecurity ocean. And he's going to provide us with some thoughts a little bit later. To then, I might mention that the overarching theme of the conference is building the maritime cybersecurity world in the next decade. And the second session today is entitled Exploring Unpredictability and Embracing Uncertainty in the Maritime Cybersecurity at the Black Sea. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know how much you all have on your plates. We wouldn't ask you to take time from your busy schedules unless the matter was truly important. And it is. Cybersecurity issues are relevant, challenging, and uncertain. There is an urgent need to be further addressed in a very systemic way, starting from a broad strategic perspective and going down to the complex web of various practical strands. And when it comes to the maritime cybersecurity issues, the problems grow more complex and even more challenging. It is why the key topics of today's session are: first, cybersecurity strategy and policy in maritime affairs at the Black Sea, focusing on the importance of a cybersecurity strategy for the Black Sea region, a major crossroads and critical intersection of East, West, and South, North corridors, home to 3 NATO members states, Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey, and several NATO partner countries, where any instability or hostility in the area directly impacts NATO, as issued in the alliance's strategic papers, as you very well know. The second topic would be maritime cybersecurity case studies from the Black Sea to the global ocean, intending to link the Black Sea's maritime cybersecurity specific features with the global ocean cybersecurity environment. Third, synergy at the West-East crossroads from the Black Sea perspective, aiming to touch the growing issue of cyber energy security in the Black Sea region particular context. Next would be maritime cybersecurity in the era of digital transformation, supposing to signal the importance of improvement of regional public-private cybersecurity cooperation to keep the pace with fast technological developments. And the cybersecurity and the future of maritime affairs aiming to provide a long-term perspective of the impact of so-called cyber uncertainties on maritime affairs at the Black Sea. We will start the discussion today with our very guest speaker, Mr. Dragoș Preda. Mr. Dragoș Preda is Secretary of State for Electronic Communications within the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure and Communication, Romanian government. He is Vice President of the National Liberal Party in 1st District, Bucharest, with expertise forged in over 12 years of experience in central public administration. Mr. Preda also participated as a coordinator of 5 national strategies and other governmental strategic and legal papers. His areas of significant concern consist of international development, public administration reform, security and defense policies, communication, development of smart cities and communities at the local level, at the level of European countries. He is a member of expert groups at the level of European Commission. Enthusiastic about strategy and prospective studies, Mr. Dragoș Preda has been part of the Romanian hub of the Millennium Project that was initiated by the Smithsonian Institution, the Futures Group International and United Nations University in 2011. Mr. Preda graduated from the École Nationale d'Administration as a fellow of the government of the French Republic, as well as from 2 master's programs from Paris and Panthéon-Sorbonne University, where he also holds a bachelor diploma. Mr. State Secretary, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much once again. I remember just that about 9 years ago, I was a guest, and also I collaborated with the Maritime University in Constanța. I remember Emil once and all the fellows from the Maritime University at that time. And if I well remember, Professor Marian Zulean was also a guest speaker at with this occasion, with Ambassador Sergiu Celac and with Yeșim Moruc from UNDP. We discussed the perspective of Black Sea region, security perspective of the Black Sea region. We discussed it with the UN representatives. There was also the member of the Romanian Academy, Răzvan Teodorescu, and other representatives of UN mission in Romania. And we also discussed aspects regarding the ethnical issues from the Black Sea region. So for me, there are many memories linked to the Black Sea Maritime University in Constanța. Getting back to our subject today, cybersecurity is a significant element in the political dialogues with EU strategic partners and with the international organizations. If I remember well, the 2008 implementation report of the European security strategy included cyber threats as a new category of risk to European security. So we have already more than a decade of discussing these issues and reporting to them. The report recommends additional work in this area, especially on exploring a comprehensive EU approach on raising awareness and on enhancing international cooperation. During the meeting from the 1st of July 2012, the EU security policy directors set up the EAS major focus area in cybersecurity in order to mainstream cybersecurity into foreign and security policy of the European Union, and to coordinate EU external activities in the field. The ongoing process of preparing an EU strategy for cybersecurity and to define the cyberspace issues try to focus on about, I don't know, a few important aspects like promoting freedom of expression, freedom of association, and free access to information in internet, supporting the development of norms for state behavior in cyberspace, coordinating coherent EU position in different international cyberspace and cybersecurity discussions, promoting the Council of Europe Convention for Cybercrime, applying the instrument for stability to promote cybersecurity capacity building in the third countries as part of EU external assistance, supporting cyber defense efforts of EU military staff and European Defense Agency. At that time, I gave as an example the developments of Netherlands in this respect, and from what I remember, in 2012, a joint committee of members of the Advisory Council of International Affairs and Advisory Committee on Issues of Public International Law presented an advisory report on cyber warfare. The report supplements that national cyber security strategy, which focuses on protecting national security and tackling cybercrime. Also supplements that the cyber security legal frameworks that was sent to House of Representatives pointed out a few things, like cyber threats demands a comprehensive strategy. That's why, in this respect, we are discussing more and more today the development and creation of a cybersecurity center, and Romania emphasizes more on this issue and puts all its efforts to the creation of such a center. The cyberspace is an operational domain for the armed forces, and the Ministry of Defense is investing in measures to greatly strengthen existing capabilities and develop new ones, including offensive ones. In this respect, that was the position of Netherlands. I have to stress on this issue. The right use of force in self-defense may apply in relation to cyber attacks, and government sees no need for a new global cyber treaty, although it will promote political and practical framework for the application of international law in cyberspace. Through NATO cyber policy that's defensive, discussion of the use of offensive capabilities will become sometimes, perhaps at that time it was pointed out, will become necessary. So Article 5 of NATO Treaty also applies to cyber attacks. Returning to our debate today, allow me to return to get back in Romania and to point out that today, inovația este cea să switch așa direct, dar inovația aduce schimbări majore în modul nu doar al vieților noastre, dar și în operațional și în nivelul cultural. Și există o legătură directă între inovație, tehnologie și schimbare. Și cu cât este mai mare, cu atât impactul tehnologiei este mai mare. Iar schimbarea culturală generează necesitatea achiziției acestor, așa cum vorbim din ce în ce mai mult apropo de cyber threats, apropo de cyber security, nevoia achiziției de abilități digitale. Acesta este o dimensiune extrem de importantă în zona de cyber security, în special transformarea de fapt acestei culturi la nivelul cetățenilor, fiecărui cetățean în parte. Oamenii percep schimbarea ca pe o relație subtilă. între pericol și oportunitate și cu cât mai mare este schimbarea, cu atât percepția pericolului generat de către aceasta este mai mare. La nivelul Ministerului Transportului, Infrastructurii și Comunicațiilor, e adevărat, ca și minister elaborăm, implementăm, folosim o abordare integrată a strategiilor în domeniul comunicațiilor electronice. De ce subliniez de fiecare dată comunicații electronice? Pentru că folosim termenul în general și pentru simplitate a acronimului și nu numai de comunicații. Termenul corect este comunicații electronice în bandă largă, de aceea vorbim despre broadband la nivel european și nu numai acestor aspecte, serviciilor poștale, inclusiv planurilor de acțiune aferente acestor strategii. La adevărat, coordonăm activitățile guvernamentale din domeniu în acord cu legislația în vigoare și definim cadrul normativ, metodologic, funcțional, operațional și financiar în implementarea politicilor. Totodată, în 2019 am promovat strategia 5G elaborată împreună cu ANCOM, pe baza unui amplu proces de consultare publică a celorlalte instituții publice și agenți economici, asociații, operatori de profil. De ce vin cu aceste specificații? Vorbim intens în ultima vreme de digitalizare. Nu putem să vorbim de digitalizare fără conectivitate. Încă din sesiunea din 5 mai, dar și cea din 5 iunie, Thierry Breton, comisarul pentru piața unică, și Margrethe Vestager, vicepreședintele Comisiei, punctau imperativ să facem atât pe de o parte o disociere apropo de fake news între COVID-19, criza COVID-19, criza de sănătate și 5G și să înțelegem importanța creării unui mediu cât mai bine conectat la nivelul fiecărui cetățean pentru a da valoare de fapt acestor soluții tehnologice, acestei digitalizări. Iar dacă nu ajunge la fiecare cetățean și ajunge într-un mod securizat, și aici intrăm iarăși pe domeniul securității cibernetice, ea nu va genera încredere, nu va fi asumată de către cetățeni și de aici valoarea și de fapt impactul real la nivel social și la nivelul bunăstării, dezvoltării comunităților și societății în general nu se va resimți. Mai ales acum vorbim foarte intens de teleșcoală, telemuncă, e-comerț, chiar și de sport. Făcusem un punctaj în acest sens. Am fost chemat să vorbesc despre impactul acestor noi tehnologii de comunicații, precum 5G-ul, asupra zonei de Horeca, care a fost puternic afectată în ultima vreme. Toate aceste dimensiuni trebuie ținut cont de ele și trebuie asumate. De aici, ca să vin la niște dimensiuni mult mai reale, practice, pragmatice la ora actuală, este nevoie de crearea, și aici vă felicit pentru ceea ce faceți prin aceste dezbateri și prin comunitatea pe care o generați, este nevoia să apară comunități de dezvoltatori și universități pentru ca să se creeze aceste centre de excelență. România vizionează intens crearea și dezvoltarea unor DIH-uri. Sunt un număr de vreo 6 DIH-uri deja existente, Digital Innovation Hubs, la nivelul țării noastre, dar vizionăm crearea unor DIH-uri care sunt asemenea unor clustere, adică de reunesc zona de academics cu zona antreprenorială și cu instituții ale statului, tocmai pentru a genera de fapt cercetare practică, pentru a genera plus valoare, research and development și produse finite pe această dimensiune. Pentru că vorbim despre competitivitate în această dimensiune și pilonul 3 al competitivității în care vrem să introducem România este zona aceasta de business sophistication și innovation. Iar acest lucru se poate face numai când vom avea parte de aceste comunități precum este cea de astăzi. Și în acest sens vizionăm susținerea cercetării și inovării printr-un crearea unor centre de excelență pentru cercetare în zona de inteligență artificială. Inovare și expertiză este o inițiativă foarte bine văzută la nivel european. Totodată, asigurarea de competențe potrivite, așa cum specificam, este imperativ la toate nivelele. La fiecare nivel este nevoie de un anumit tip de competențe, dar tocmai pentru a se genera plus valoare real și a se simți de fapt impactul acestor noi tehnologii, este nevoie de a avea cât mai multe, nu numai astfel de sesiuni, dar chiar și generarea unor sisteme de educație pentru sistemul public, pentru angajații sistemului public, pentru mediul academic, dar și pentru fiecare domeniu din piață în parte, pentru că deja viața noastră gravitează în jurul acestor tehnologii și, nu în ultimul rând, desigur, susținerea IMM-urilor și generarea acestor clustere de inovație și de creație la nivel pragmatic de soluții tehnologice. Chiar și în weekendul acesta am avut o serie de întâlniri cu astfel de tineri și nu numai tineri, dar și grupuri de inovație. Până la urmă este vorba de crearea unui ecosistem de încredere. Apropo de cyber security, de ce ne dorim zona aceasta pentru a crea, așa cum scriam încă de acum 3 ani într-o serie de articole, o parte se regăsesc pe Market of Ideas, de acest sistem de future proof. Un stat sănătos este cel care creează prevenție și sisteme de prevenție. Și acest lucru se va face prin stimularea încrederii publicului și asigurarea utilizării noilor tehnologii, a inteligenței artificiale într-un mod responsabil, încurajând în același timp inovația. Deci aici este o falie extrem de subțire între achiziția noilor tehnologii și de fapt că dezvoltarea în paralel a încrederii utilizatorilor, dar și a dezvoltatorilor. Securitatea cibernetică, și cu asta voi încerca să închei intervenția din această dimineață, este un domeniu vital pentru Europa, așa cum am punctat deja. Europa are nevoie mai mult ca niciodată de un plan de investiții pentru securitatea cibernetică, adaptat provocărilor generate de criza nouă, având în vedere că faptul că numărul atacurilor cibernetice a crescut vertiginos. Totodată, aceasta include crearea Centrului European de care vă vorbeam, de competențe în domeniul securității cibernetice și de bun augur ar fi și sprijinul dumneavoastră și a mediului academic în acest sens și în această dorință și a statului român, care ar trebui să funcționeze ca o entitate europeană corespunzător finanțată, puternică, cu atribuții sporite și bine definite și cu capacități suficiente pentru a-și îndeplini sarcinile. Stabilirea Centrului European de Competențe în domeniul securității cibernetice ar putea reprezenta unul din cele mai eficiente răspunsuri ale Uniunii Europene, nu doar pentru această criză, dar și pe viitor în acest sens al prevenției de care vorbeam. De aceea îngrenează domenii și sectoare cheie ale economiei, precum securitatea cibernetică, inovarea, cercetarea, sectorul tehnologic și industria. România a fost și este un contribuitor activ la dezbaterea europeană asupra securității cibernetice, încă de la inițierea propunerii de regulament asupra centrului până în prezent. România își menține ferm această ofertă de a găzdui centrul de competențe în domeniul securității, deținând desigur și toate argumentele în acest sens. Totodată, acum, desigur, o să mă limitez în intervenție fără a mai interveni asupra cărții albe și propunerilor privind Cartea Albă a Inteligenței Artificiale sau strategia europeană privind datele, tot vorbind că datele sunt noul petrol în noua economie internațională. Desigur, acum și în cadrul reuniunii grupului Horizontal Cyber de la începutul acestui an, apropo și de regiunea pe care o avem în vedere, Black Sea Region, au fost accentuate aspectele privind noile amenințări, tehnologiile emergente, normele internaționale și dialogul instituțional. Discuțiile au fost centrate pe neutralitate tehnologică, ținem cont de acest lucru și când evaluăm în cadrul CTE-ului toate proiectele pe zona de comunicații și digitalizare, în linie totodată și având un focus din ce în ce mai mare și aici trebuie să ținem cont, apropo de conectivitate, de IoT, Internet of Things și operațiunile autonome. Dacă se poate, microfonul. Așa. Totodată și aici tot în cadrul acestei reuniuni s-a precizat faptul că există un antagonism între țări, regiuni precum Uniunea Europeană care susțin normele curente și țări precum Rusia sau China care percep securitatea cibernetică ca pe un joc de putere, power play. Și aici cred că oarecum lansez și întind mâna unei dezbateri din partea celorlalți penaliști și sunt ochi și urechi și voi mai rămâne alături de dumneavoastră pentru oricare întrebări sau nevoie de clarificări pe subiectele deja deschise. Vă mulțumesc încă o dată, mulțumesc și domnului general Danilă pentru invitație și Universității Maritime din Constanța. Mă bucur să fiu alături după o perioadă puțin îndelungată în dezbatere cu oamenii extraordinari pe care îi găzduiește Universitatea. Și mulțumesc încă o dată. Felicitări pentru demers.
Vă mulțumim, domnule ministru. O să fac o dezvăluire pentru publicul prezent astăzi. Am convenit împreună ca discursul dumneavoastră să fie atât în limba engleză cât și în limba română pentru a putea acoperi toate categoriile de public care ne urmăresc. În registrările lucrărilor acestei conferințe or să existe niște subtitrări pentru a putea fi disponibile conținuturile pentru toți cei care sunt interesați de dezbaterile noastre de astăzi. Am reținut din prezentarea dumneavoastră că din perspectiva României, construcția unei strategii solide de securitate cibernetică pornește de la nevoia de transformare a culturii de securitate cibernetică, nevoie care în mare măsură este influențată și de, să spunem, decalajul de cunoaștere, abilități de natură cibernetică care există la nivelul societății românești, în mod special între generații. Am reținut faptul că ar fi necesară o strategie integrată în domeniul comunicațiilor electronice, ținând cont de complexitatea amenințărilor de natură cibernetică și de felul în care aceste amenințări pot pune în pericol diverse domenii ale vieții sociale, inclusiv în ceea ce înseamnă domeniul apărării naționale, de unde și o nevoie de adaptare a strategiilor de apărare națională și comună în fața acestui nou tip de amenințare. Ați menționat faptul că inclusiv din perspectiva NATO, atacurile de natură cibernetică fac obiectul articolului 5. De asemenea, am reținut disponibilitatea țării noastre pentru a găzdui un viitor centru european de competențe în domeniul securității cibernetice. Împărtășesc în mare măsură această viziune a faptului că România are toate resursele necesare pentru a construi un proiect de succes în această zonă și închei ideile, să spun, sintetizate din spațiul românesc, cu privire la spațiul românesc, reținând importanța sinergiilor, în mod special prin aducerea în jurul aceleiași mese a reprezentanților mediului academic, profesioniștilor și statului, pentru ca prin cooperare și prin punerea în comun de resurse și cunoaștere să poată fi dezvoltate acele strategii care să devină și funcționale. Now I will shift back on English mentioning that also I've noted that it is important to enhance the international cooperation on cybersecurity, and there are several important initiatives coming from Brussels in this field, mostly based on the European Commission interest in investing in developing the cybersecurity field, as cyber threats demand a cyber security common strategy. And at the end, I would say that we have to bear in mind that we are part of an ongoing process to issue a cybersecurity strategy that should touch also very sensitive issues as let's say freedom versus security, data protection, individual intimacy, and so on and so far. These being very sensitive issues that should be addressed in a comprehensive way in the years to come. And this helped us to understand how to make the next step toward the artificial intelligence, being important to bring our contribution to the EU artificial intelligence white paper and future strategies in this field, anticipating in a way how important the artificial intelligence will be for future technological for various future technological strengths. Now, I would pass the floor to the next speaker today. I'm not sure if Mr. Iftimie is with us now, if he's logged in the panel. From Washington, D.C. So, Mr. Iftimie, if not, I would mention that our next guest speaker is going to be Professor Marian Zulan. Dr. Marian Zulan is professor at University of Bucharest, where he teaches public policy, policy of national security and social policy. He holds a master at the University of Pittsburgh, doctorate in sociology, and a postdoctoral Fulbright fellow in the Department of Sociology at the University of Maryland. His area of expertise includes the analysis of public policy, the international security, and the civil-military relations. In the period 2001-2008, he was an expert with the presidential administration, with the departments of international relations and national security. He's a former military personnel. So, Professor Zulan, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Now I'm just releasing my microphone.
Very well.
Okay, thank you, guys, for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here, to see so many friends. Finally, I see Ion Iftimie is joining us. As Mr. Iancu presented me, you saw I'm a sociologist, so I was wondering, why should I participate to this conference? I was a little anxious to participate because I'm a social scientist. When I see cybersecurity, when I hear cybersecurity, I imagine the Internet of Things, black internet, hackers, all these sort of things, and I'm not very skillful in that. However, Gabi Raicu persuade me that I can say something on this topic because it's about exploring uncertainty, and I used to work on several projects on foresight, future studies, strategies, formulations. So I also saw so many friends around, and I know people. And last but not the least, as Mr. Dragoș Preda mentioned, it is basically the third time when I participate to this conference. So I'm not new. I was initially like 5-6 years ago, and then last year. So Having said that, I was wondering how can I contribute to the debate on the exploring unpredictability and uncertainty, and I'm trying to come up with the good news. The good news is, after a long time, the Black Sea security is on the agenda, on your Atlantic agenda, on operational levels. This is my point I would like to make. And since the Gabi and the friends invited me to talk about one of the project, a NATO project we are involved in common, I will start by saying something about this, and then something about Romanian national security strategy. And all of them have in common this idea of Black Sea security. It's on the Euro-Atlantic agenda on operational levels. But maybe I can do an introductory remarks on that. As people might remember from history, during Nicolae Iorga said once between the world wars that Romania is surrounded by many unfriendly states except Yugoslavia and Black Sea. But then during the Soviet times, the Black Sea became a sort of Soviet lake, but also a place where Warsaw Pact clashes NATO around the Turkish shores. Then after the 1990s, Romania was one of the enthusiastic countries that want to push or to build up a strategy, or actually to come up with a persuasion of strategic significance of the Black Sea. And you might remember 2004, 2006, 2000 was the first push on the national level during the President Băsescu's first national security strategy. We organized a forum. Then we tried to persuade about this strategic significance of the Black Sea, of course, in cooperation with many other countries. But it was only the Crimean war, or how to say, Crimean crisis, when the Russian troops invaded Crimea, that triggered much bigger interest from Euro-Atlantic institution on the Black Sea. So now we are here. Now we are not only talking and making strategies on paper, but we have to think something in operational terms. And one of the arguments I'll present was our project. We just built up a project. The leader is Arnold Dupuy from Washington, and it's also my partner in Black Sea Area program at the University of Bucharest. We put up a project called Energy Security in the Era of Hybrid Warfare, and I'm glad to present. And is based analytically on two empirical studies done in Romania and Poland. So we are two countries very important on the eastern shore. And the main task of our case study is to describe and analyze the energy infrastructure and the ability to support NATO basing and operational requirements. And I'll just skip through the project or scheme very fast. We made a plan to start with describing the international context and how energy is used as a hybrid warfare, and the overview of the NATO and European energy security environment. Then we have a very descriptive project on Romanian perspective on NATO energy security, also starting from a historical legacy, discussing about the dependence of or independence of Romania, and then description of the external sources. And here we are keen to present a chapter on cybersecurity in the energy sector. And of course, Mr. Raicu is very much involved in this. Then we discuss energy security as a critical realm of Romanian national security. And one of the chapters I like and would like to be involved is about infrastructure for operational deployments in support of NATO exercises and NATO operations. And it's a brand new interest in NATO to discuss about military mobility and how to use infrastructure. And I was having here a sort of Second, I'll try again to share the screen because I'm trying to build. Actually, I just did last night a slide to describe the budgeting of the. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot do it. Says here. Let's see. Maybe this is work. Can you see this graph?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so I try to look on the eastern flank. As you might know, there is a big interest now on this infrastructure, or somehow lack of infrastructure in Eastern Europe. If you look on the west, you can see many well-developed infrastructure, energy, and all the logistic for defending the NATO built during the Marshall Plan. We have these ships. And if Timmy can tell us more about this network of pipelines from the Western Europe, but we don't have such a link or pipelines in Eastern Europe. So I was trying to do with this graph to look the investments in infrastructure coming from on the military budgeting. So you have military defense expenditures on the NATO. I was looking on defense expenditure on NATO on the countries borderlining eastern flank, and basically Baltic states, Poland, Romania, and Hungary. I put it Hungary. And what we can see here is a huge investment from, in terms of percentage of GDP from the Baltic states initially. You can see countries like Estonia or Latvia allocating about 18% in 2017 for infrastructure. You have also Romania, competing fight on resource allocation, but Romania has only 1%, so it was a laggard until last year, 2018, and today we have 4.06. So one explanation, it's a sort of historical legacy on this allocation. It's just a brief, let's say, speculation maybe, historical legacy belonging to the West, but also to the Eastern countries. Historical legacy belonging to the West is the fact that when NATO, Russia, Euro Atlantic Council or treaty was signed to accept the NATO expansion, they decided not to invest or not to put any troops in the Eastern Europe. So because of that, the countries on Eastern Europe don't have investments on the military operational basing. So you can hear now, any time we try to invest in this, we have like a sort of hybrid warfare, Sputnik trying, and this year we have this experience with the Russian establishment on the not highest level, but at least on political level, trying to oppose to the Romanian national security strategy. I'll come up with this topic. But so somehow the Western legacies, they don't encourage until now to have infrastructure for defense in Eastern Europe. Except the Baltic states, of course, they start from zero. Also, maybe Romania and the country and Poland, they have a huge military in 1989. Romania has 330,000 people and reduced to 90,000. So we have sedentary people, personnel, but also basing. So maybe it was not a need to invest in this infrastructure. But this is a point to make, and is a point to present to you. So how can we develop an infrastructure? This is a purely military infrastructure, but how about the connection with the pipelines? How about the common cyber infrastructure and all sorts of things? Okay, I'll switch again. Maybe I can. Okay, but anyway, I presented my points, and since I mentioned come back now. To see my my last point is about the strategy, but yeah, I succeeded to present both, maybe. Now, I'll keep this because the time is limited. The last point, it's about the reaction I just described. Romania is in the status of formulating the national security strategy or national defense strategy, exactly the title. And the Supreme Council of National Defense just issued such a strategy 2 weeks ago, I think, and it was presented to the parliament. It's in the process of approval, and is the first time that Russia reacted in such a bold way against strategic documents. They basically claim that Romania will bring weapons on the Black Sea, and it's taking Russia as an enemy. And what I can say on this is basically directly to the point. Basically, is just a more clear statement that Russia did some troubles in the Black Sea and contribute to the militarization of the region after the Crimean War in 2014. And now it's just stating very clear, but is not treating Russia as an enemy. It's just, I can quote from the strategy, but it's just trying to present the fact. And how can someone explain this? I will have two explanations for this reaction at the highest level. I mean, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ambassadors. My first, maybe it's a speculation, it's if this issue is good for Putin to present to his electoral campaign on changing the constitution. And so he needs an enemy. And on the other hand, I think the real story is that really they don't like that Romania invested so much and clever on this, as trying to bring NATO commandments and the troops close to the Russian borders and having a very coherent strategy on the Black Sea. As far as the strategy, I was thinking to say something on cybersecurity. I was asked by Sabina Fati at Radio Free Europe. I hope I can share again this story 2 weeks ago about the strategy. And if I cannot project, I'm just also trying to say what I said. Basically, I said that okay, that basically I would like to see in the new national security strategy the more coherent policy on energy security and cyber security. So I didn't see anything, nobody consulted me, but I'm glad to see in the strategy there are these two issues very well addressed. Mostly the energy security is best addressed because it's coming from the first part of the strategy, from defining the security environment, threats and risks, until to the direction of acting. And but on cybersecurity, it's also everywhere. But I didn't see very clearly strategic direction. But as far as I saw from the speech of Dragoș Preda, I think this minister has a strategy and in coherence with the European Union. So having said that, I'll stop here. Maybe I'll try to wrap up saying again that the strategic significance of the Black Sea on the Black Sea on the Euro-Atlantic agenda is very well placed now, and the Black Sea security is now on the Euro-Atlantic agenda. This could be a success of the Romanian and also the in common agreement with the our friends from NATO, like Turkey, Bulgaria, and the other part of the PFP partners like Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, and I think I'll stop here. So I'm ready to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Zulan. Thank you very much for your thoughts, insights into the Romania's national security strategy, which, as you've mentioned, also touches this sensitive issue of cybersecurity. And thank you for introduction this NATO's sponsored project on energy security in era of hybrid warfare. And it tends to become a very strategic project that maybe will put on the table of the strategic leadership at Brussels one of the most, let's say, sensitive issues for the years to come. The next very welcome speaker is Mr. Ion Iftimie. Mr. Iftimie is the Eisenhower PhD Fellow at the NATO Defense College in Rome, Italy, and a doctoral candidate in energy security at the Central European University in Vienna. He is also senior advisor for the European Union Research Center at the Georgetown Washington University School of Business in Washington, D.C., an active participant in the system analysis and studies of the NATO Science and Technology Organization in Paris, France, and the Cybersecurity Forum Initiative Fellow for Romanian-American Relations. He serves on the editorial board for the Journal of the Knowledge Economy and the Journal of Information Warfare. So, Mr. Iftimie, the floor is yours for your remarks, please.
Thank you, and thank you for the introduction. Very humbled by it. Yeah, so I'm currently here in Rome. We just lifted the lockdown. Just a thumbs up that everybody can hear me well. Okay, great. Yeah, so my background before being an academic, I used to be a senior military officer, particularly in a cyber domain. I was a senior cyber officer at US Cybercom at Fort Meade in Maryland. And when I did that, I also worked closely with the current director of US Cybercom. And we also went together to the executive program that Harvard has. So I ended up going there with General Nakasone. And it got me, because of the time that I spent at US Cybercom, there was a new threat that was coming online, and that is this threat to critical energy systems and critical infrastructure in general. So I couldn't agree more with what Dr. Zulan mentioned earlier about the strategic significance of the Black Sea. Only one mention over there, I would say that Romania still needs to do a little bit more to take advantage of the current situation. But I was asked to talk here more about disruptive technologies, because my background being in cyber and electronic warfare, I think that might be relevant for the discussion. I'm going to share my screen, and if you bear with me, let's see if I can do this. Can you see my screen now, or it's not?
It's not available yet.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. There you go. Is this good? All right, great. So a little bit of context that Dr. Zulan already covered a little bit of this. We're talking about threats and cyber threats and electronic warfare threats at the Black Sea. So you have to look at the current context, right? So from a NATO perspective, you have this illegal Russian occupation of Crimea. So in this case, it exhibited a very good coordination of conventional capabilities and new ones, in particular cyber and electronic warfare. The next point to bring up here is that the Black Sea is very important strategically for Russia. And this is both economically, right? So Russia does transport a lot of its oil through the Black Sea, and militarily, because Russia uses its military bases at the Black Sea to stage operations, such as operations in Syria. And I also put here something that works not in favor of Romania, and that's the 1936 Montreal Convention, which basically limits the U.S. and NATO naval presence at the Black Sea. So there are a lot of limitations, which means that Romania has to invest in building its own capabilities at the Black Sea to ensure security at the shore. So if we go to the next slide, basically, if we look at the conflict between Russia and Crimea, you have this concept of liminal warfare at the Black Sea. And if you look at this graph by Kilcullen, basically that liminal warfare, it's very ambiguous and covert, where even though sometimes we know who the perpetrator is, it's really hard to prove. And this is where those cyber threats to critical infrastructure come into play, because now you have a state power with very advanced capabilities that could leverage those capabilities to cause events that would embarrass Romania. And this is particularly a threat to the Romanian Navy, for example, where now you have the navigation and weapon systems that typically or traditionally we used to say, okay, well, these systems are not connected to the internet, so we're not worried about a cyber attack against those systems. But with the new capabilities that Russia has proven during the invasion of Crimea, on land particularly, where it used this combination of artillery and tanks, and then the cyber and electronic warfare capabilities. You can be sure that if it was the case of a naval conflict, it will leverage these capabilities to attack those Romanian Navy navigation systems. And a particular comment here, and it's not just related to Romania. This is most navies for the NATO member states. These navigation systems are actually very vulnerable, and they can be accessed through electronic warfare. And after you gain that access, then you can have cyber effects that could cause ships to change direction, or it could cause the actual weapons to misfire or to miss targets and so forth. And imagine if you have a system, a weapon system firing, the embarrassment that could cause to Romania. So it's all of the sudden, it's very important to pay attention to these particular threats. And of course, it's not just the U.S., it's not just the Romanian Navy that is being threatened here. Marian Zolean already mentioned critical energy infrastructure and the fact that we don't have NATO pipelines traversing Romania like we have on Western Europe. However, the Romanian Navy and the Romanian military in general, it's getting its fuels from privately owned systems that basically operate private pipelines. And so you have an additional challenge here where Romania has to pay particular attention to protecting private pipelines. So there is a need for increased collaboration, which some of it is already happening between private and public entities. But it needs to be taken to the next level where basically the public system, and particularly on the defense side, have access to private data to protect these pipelines. And then that's going to be a very hard sell to where, now you have a government institution having a lot of visibility on private systems. So that may complicate some things. So the recommendations are also in line with Dr. Zulan. There is a need for discussion on NATO threats in general at the Black Sea and threats to Black Sea allies, including Romania. And I put this here specifically like this because we talk, and I heard General Sergiu Cilan in the past making this argument, okay, there is this big threat at the Black Sea, automatically Romania becomes an important player in addressing these challenges. And it's not necessarily true because the Russian threat at the Black Sea is in the mentality of many Western NATO member states is that it is limited to Ukraine. So unless Romania goes ahead and explains how this threat expands beyond the Ukrainian territories, then it's not going to be very clear that okay, this Russian threat at the Black Sea is also a threat to NATO allies. And I know it sounds a bit silly, but the Baltic states are actually doing quite a better job than Romania and Bulgaria are doing on this matter. There needs to be further NATO-EU cooperation on cyber threats and particularly to critical infrastructure. And some of this is already happening, but Romania needs to take a more proactive step in this, and I know at the regional level, Romania has already done that. There is this center of competence that was mentioned earlier today for the European Union in cybersecurity that we want to host in Romania, which I think is very important as part of this. But as we do this, we also have to support our allies with their own initiatives. And I've seen, for example, in Romania, this resistance to support the Energy Security Center of Excellence in Lithuania, primarily because it was seen as okay, it's a competing vision, so we're not going to play ball with that. But as we want to create this center of competence, then we will want Lithuania to support us. So if we don't have this mutual support among allies, it will be harder to garner support for us, and it's harder to propagate this national vision within NATO and EU bodies and centers of excellence, which Romania hasn't been very active. Even I know that I'm contradicting Mr. Preda that spoke earlier a little bit. But I can because I guess I don't work for the Romanian government. But while we are on the right track, we can do more and to promote this vision for Romania, which I really hope that we can do that. And on that note, it's really great to have Dr. Raicu and Dr. Zulan representing Romania at the NATO Science and Technology Organization in Paris, I can't wait to continue this collaboration and really thank you for inviting me to speak today. And I actually look forward to the questions at the end of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Iftimi. Thank you very much for your presentation. it was a really great, let's say, way to bring together all these sensitive issues of critical infrastructure, cybersecurity on this area of Black Sea, where we have these intersections of critical paths that we have to better understand in order to provide, let's say, much more comprehensive strategies covering these issues. So your presentation, in my view, made smoother, let's say, the transition to the professional part of our panel today. And I will invite now our next speaker, Mr. Silviu Neghina. Mr. Neghina is a passionate and goal-oriented senior leader in sales and business development with over 15 years experience. He is coordinating the sales of the Sigfox IoT projects in Europe. He is providing consultancy in 12 countries to Sigfox operators, customers, and partners to deliver the best Internet of Things solutions according to their needs and market demands. So, Mr. Neghina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, for the very nice introduction. I appreciate it. Just please confirm if you can hear me. Everything is okay. Just perfect. Okay. Let me also share the screen with you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's the first time I'm attending your event. I'm very happy to be here. We will speak from a different view today, the view of Sigfox and in the world of Internet of Things. And by Internet of Things, I mean the real project with real use cases, not necessarily slides, and the scalable projects. So a very short introduction. I'll try and be fast because I know the schedule is quite tight. So just a high-level introduction for all the attendants and all the people that are watching this conference. Sigfox is one of the major players in the IoT domain. We are present today officially in more than 70 countries. Unofficially, it's about 83 countries. We are providing technology that is able to connect devices that don't have access to a power source. So we are not talking about necessarily competing with the 4G or 5G technologies. On my side, I think we are a complementary technology because at the end of the day, there is no technology that fits all the needs of the customers. So as I said earlier, we are one of the most important players. Actually, I think we are the only global IoT player. We are able to provide to our customers one network. So no matter where we deploy our base stations in all the countries, we build one generic IoT network for our customers. And one of the main characteristics of our network, since we are in a cybersecurity conference now, are the anti-jamming features. So our technology is the only IoT technology that cannot be jammed. I'm talking, of course, about devices that you can purchase from, I don't know, external sites. I don't want to name or the country where you can buy them. The idea is that our technology and the way it's being structured is the only anti-jamming technology in the IoT domain. Everything in our ecosystem is very simple. We don't have SIM cards, we don't have APNs, we don't have IPs. Basically, we don't have any headache for our customers and our partners. We have only one central system with the devices and with the communication modules. There's no need of pairing the devices, no need of configuration. And in terms of cost, I know that it's a very strong statement, and probably we will be challenged always. And I'm very happy to answer to all the questions. We deliver overall the lowest TCO for our customers. and that's happening mainly because the devices are having the lowest cost because of the modules. So to give you a very high level example, a 4G module nowadays is about 20 euros. Probably the one that will come up with 5G will be around 40 or 50 euros in the beginning. That's what we've seen in the past. In the Sigfox ecosystem, the Sigfox modules are between 0.5 euros and 2 euros, something like that. So also in terms of battery consumption, we are the low power wide area network technology, and the way our devices are configured, we are able to achieve many years of autonomy. So that's together with the connectivity cost, because we are talking in general, and I will talk now mainly about Romania. We are talking about an average of 4 euros plus give or take, but overall it's an average of 4 euros per year per device. So not per month, we are talking about 4 euros per year per connected device. And in this price, it's included the connectivity, plus the integration to the customer applications. Everything is provided for free. All the integration efforts, the customers can get all the data from the Sigfox cloud and process them and make any kind of dashboards that they want. Why we are a low energy, why we are a low power technology, and why our devices manage to get such a high autonomy? It's mainly because of the way the devices are configured. We send messages up to 12 bytes. I know that in an era and in a country where people are used to receive tens of gigabytes per month with a mobile subscription, to speak about 12 bytes, it's like, okay, what's this? But believe me, in 12 bytes, we can squeeze any kind of information that is needed in the IoT domain. So we don't, to give you an example, the GPS positions that we are providing to our asset tracking customers, we are able to squeeze them in 6 bytes. So every let's say every connectivity is in a very small amount, and that's a way for our devices to last a lot. Also, the way the devices are working, it's an advantage on our side. Our devices are in a complete sleep mode, and they just wake up to send the relevant information. To give you a very high level example, if we have an asset that reached let's say the Black Sea port, and it's reached that location, and let's say the container isn't moving, we send the position of that container, we alert the customer that his container has reached the Black Sea port, and then we don't send any information. Maybe we will send a keep alive message based on the customer request, but besides that, we don't send any kind of information, because actually it's useless. As long as an asset isn't moving, you don't need just to say continuously, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. All this useless information actually is consuming a lot of battery. And going to the major topic of the conference, security. And in an era where everybody wants to connect devices and everybody's talking about connecting billions of devices, security comes in let's say in a second stage, even though I believe that's the major challenge of the IoT domain. So all the customers are expecting, or should expect actually, a very high level of security, because we are talking about maybe sensitive data for the customer. And I know that some of the people might think, okay, we have I don't know, temperature sensor or a positioning. What can be sensitive about that? Well, as long as the information belongs to someone, then that someone, if it's a private or a company, that someone is owning that information, and it's his right to have it stored in a most secured way. We in Sigfox, we have designed very strong security mechanisms, also in terms of network. So we are providing free of charge to our customers the payload encryption service, which of course in certain use cases is taken by the customer. In other use cases it's not. But it's a service that is provided free of charge to all our customers, the payload encryption. And we also have, we call it secure element by our Sigfox partner, because that's a hardware component which allows all our partners and customers to increase the level of authentication and integrity of their data. So we are talking about an end-to-end security with our ecosystem. And also one important thing about the whole security of our ecosystem, though our devices being in a deep sleep mode, I told you earlier that they wake up to send the most relevant information. But comparing to the GSM industry, our devices are managing our network and not the other way. So basically, the device, when it wakes up, it doesn't connect to any base station that is surrounding that device. So it doesn't need to ask for approval. It just wakes up and sends the information. Comparing to the GSM, the information is taken by all the base stations that are surrounding that device. So imagine Christmas or New Year's Eve when we cannot give a call or when we cannot send a message. Well, lately it's a little bit more flexible, but usually when there are congestions, you don't manage to use your device. In the Sigfox ecosystem, that's not the case, because as long as all the messages are capturing, all the base stations are capturing the message from our device, they are sending it to our cloud. And from our cloud, the right message, and only one message from all the base stations, is being sent to the customer application. That's a way for us to get a very high SLA. And actually, Sigfox is the only IoT ecosystem that is able to provide a global SLA for our customers. In the next slides, I will go through high level on the main use cases that we have related to the security part. So the most important customer in the Sigfox ecosystem is the security company, Securitas Direct. They have now more than 20 million alarm panels connected in Europe, and Sigfox is a backup technology for GSM. That's because you can buy with 20 euros a GSM jammer on any website, and you can jam the alarm panel, and as long as it has 2 SIM cards, both of them can be jammed. Securitas has decided to cancel the second GSM module and replace it with the Sigfox module. So whenever a GSM network is being jammed or something is not working, it switches to Sigfox, and the alarm panels are alive and working until a technician is being able to sort it out. So we are talking again about more than 20 million alarm panels, and besides Securitas, we have plenty of security companies worldwide that are working with us. Second use case is Free. Free is an ISP provider from France. It's, if you want, it's like their Cosmote or their Digi. It's an internet service provider that disrupted the whole market in France a few years ago. And now they are using Sigfox as a last mile connectivity method in their set-top boxes. The set-top box is being configured like all the rest of them, the ones that we know. But when there is also backup battery and the backup connectivity with Sigfox. Whenever the set-top box has any kind of issue, either power failure or internet service issues, it switches to Sigfox, and it's able to send the right alert message for their technical support teams. So they are able to identify in real time if it's a power issue, or if it's a power failure, or if it's an internet service issue. And also the smart home features of their set-top boxes, because they are providing also some sensors for the house, the motion sensor, door and window opener, temperature sensor. All those sensors keep working and send the data through Sigfox. The only thing that it's not working in this moment is the video surveillance part, but we are able to send also. We are in a beta phase now, and we can also send some pictures through the Sigfox payload. It's a beta service that we will probably launch in the next months on the market. And last but not least, because we are talking about a conference, a BSCysec conference, cybersecurity conference, I wanted to show you a little bit on a very high level some use cases that we have in asset tracking, and some of them some of them are having a direct impact in the ports and in the maritime shipping. DHL is our customer, and they are tracking 300,000 roll cages worldwide with Sigfox connectivity. Michelin is tracking their containers with tires worldwide, and the use case for Michelin was initially about the mining trucks tires, but now they've expanded it to all the tires that they are shipping worldwide in containers. The PSA group has developed a tracker together with Sigfox and IBM to track all their automotive cages. So we are talking here about returnable industry packaging, all those boxes adapted to each car component that are being sent to suppliers. And in Romania, for example, we have 57 spare parts suppliers for the PSA group. They are sending them empty. The Romanian suppliers are populating them with spare parts, and they then send them back to the PSA factories. And also Posty and Airbus, there are other two logistic use cases. Posty is having smart lockers, and they are providing this as a service to their customers that are using the lockers to take their packages. So it's not like in Romania a last mile delivery, but for efficiency purposes they are sending information to lockers, like we've seen in Romania with Fan Courier, EMAG, and all the other suppliers. And Airbus is tracking all their ground shipping equipment with Sigfox. So we are talking about a worldwide tracking service that we can provide to our customers. We have only few major countries missing from our footprint, but that's work in progress, like China and India. But in all the rest of them, we can work with our customers and provide global tracking services. The return of investment for our customers, and I'm talking about the most important three of them in terms of volumes: PSA, DHL, and Michelin. The return of investment was very easy to calculate. First of all, they know they have a real-time visibility of all their assets. So it's not necessarily about stolen asset, but it's the fact that they just forget about their assets in the factories. And with Sigfox and with our asset tracking solutions, they can have a real-time visibility on the usage of those assets. And also in terms of PSA and Michelin, there is also predictability for the manufacturing process, because as long as they have a real-time information about their shippings, they can estimate with a very, very high accuracy what they need to do in the next period. I have also some figures of capex and opex reduction. Some of them are confidential, some of them are not. It's important figures, and I'm pretty sure that employees in supply chain and logistics know exactly what is the impact for them. Usually we are talking about one-digit figure when we are talking about improvements, but with these customers, they've managed to achieve some impressive figures, and their results are amazing so far. So that's my very fast presentation. I know that there are many other people that have some presentations or discussions in the panels. I'm here to take all your questions if you have any. I'm also available by LinkedIn, social media, email. So whenever you need any kind of information about the Sigfox services, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neghina, for your very interesting presentation. I'm aware about the concept of military IoT, or the Internet of Military Things. This is why I will come back to you during the Q&A session to ask if this product or your product has this potential to function as a dual-use technology. Now, I will go to our next speaker, who is Mr. Ioan Alexandru Dragan. Mr. Dragan is the Deputy CEO of Trencadis, a company focused on changing the current society by implementing e-government solutions. He has been responsible for the development of international markets for the last 3 years focusing on Africa in countries such as Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria, and the Balkans. As a computer graduate, he grew from a programmer to a solution architect and manager, being involved in the implementation of e-government projects with national impacts such as Raw Alert. He owns a company that develops air traffic control simulators that provide a training infrastructure for air traffic controllers in European, African, or Pacific Ocean countries. Currently, he develops projects in the field of cybersecurity in West Africa for clients in the governmental field and the financial sector. So, Mr. Dragan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, and actually good afternoon, and thank you very much for the introduction and having me join such valuable speakers in very interesting topics. I will switch to my presentation, which, just a second. I would like to have your confirmation that my screen is coming up.
Yes, it's good.
Sorry.
Not now. Very well.
On?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I would like today to speak from the private sector perspective, but in a aim to link multiple sectors, academic, government, and private, regarding opportunities that such a hub regarding cybersecurity in the Black Sea area has for Romania at the global level. My brief presentation covers a discussion regarding a nation in Africa which can be of great help for our Romanian ambitions, both globally, and let's say strategic in Africa, to show a little bit about the threats and the weaknesses in that area. And some of you might also understand similar things to the Black Sea area. Some ways to come out of those for them, in collaboration with Romania. The discussion that I want to do today is regarding my experience in the last more than 2 years in Nigeria and Western Africa, where I had the opportunity to push Trencatis interests, economic interests, to push various solutions on e-government, cybersecurity, and other areas in Africa, which we see the last major market of the world, and where Romania should regain its relevant position, which has been diluted in the last years. So the discussion is about my findings and Trencatis' findings in this area, and how basically I am today here to rather ask for partnerships and collaborations to see how we can leverage the knowledge and the experience and the solutions Romania has in the Black Sea to use them in Africa. Just a second. What brings Nigeria relevant to this discussion is actually many things, and I would start with a picture that I received from Professor Raiku regarding Nigerian students in the cyber center of the University of the Maritime University of Constanța, which was already putting the foundation of a collaboration between the two countries. Why are we similar, and why collaboration makes sense is because there are many things that we have in common. Unfortunately, our, let's say, economic situation has pushed us into cyber criminality, which has also pushed us into the cyber expertise. Our Nigerian partners are not yet evolved to that area, but for sure you have learned about the Nigerian scams, which are from letters to cards to online fraud, and similarly Romania has been excelling in this kind of behaviors online. Also, our positioning geographically and geopolitically attracts interests from the major global players. There's US on both sides in one area to get more of that market, on the Romanian side to, let's say, solidify the European and the NATO construction. Russia with geopolitical or economic interests. China, which would like to put probably a bridgehead in Romania for accessing European Union, as it does in Greece and probably other areas. And of course, in Nigeria, in case it's rather an economic invasion of the continent, which is now being pushed back by them. Unfortunately, we share other negative things, which somehow helps us to approach the society accordingly. And corruption, it affects both countries. Nigeria more endemic than Romania. But having this in mind, why Nigeria and why Nigeria in this cyber collaboration context is because it is the largest economy of Africa at this point, has exceeded Egypt and South Africa, which unfortunately are in situations which are irrecoverable compared to Nigeria slow growth. These numbers are in the context of low oil prices. Their GDP usually grows. They are the most influential leader in Africa. They stabilize the countries around them, such as Niger, Chad, Cameroon, Benin, Togo, and other ones, helping their public administration go through various crises and interfere military whenever is needed. And whatever trends Nigeria sets are mostly followed in Africa. So it is very important for Romania to have a collaboration with them because of the strength and the opportunities that such a relevant African leader can come up with in a collaboration with Romania. Being in such a position does not mean their strength is as great as their position, as their leadership, as their economic power. And I would go to stress the topic of threats and targets. Nigeria, being such a visible and powerful leader, has multiple threats. And here I have described things that Trencadis as a company has identified, discussing with the local public authorities and political figures. The greatest threat that they have is the Chinese economic invasion, which starts from mining, agriculture, technology, and goes in the political area as much as possible. It's seen in Africa a lot. Britain, since the Brexit, is getting more aggressive on their getting back to their former colonies and activating them in their interests. Israel is known by Nigerians to deploy various technology, which is rather dual usage. Dual usage not in the military perspective, but from the perspective that it helps both Nigeria and Israel get more information. And US, which is still frustrated with the openness of Nigeria to US collaboration, political and military. This takes shape in the cyber area on various types of attacks. These types of attacks they are aware of. Let's don't think that Nigeria is a prehistoric country. They have their own specialists trained all across the world. And this kind of attacks target multiple areas, some of them for political aspects, like during election, they are trying to push for various agendas. There are geopolitical topics where they have critical infrastructure. NIMASA is the maritime authority and the Port Authority, because there is a lot of international illegal commerce with oil and other resources in the Gulf of Guinea. Of course, private sector, which does not invest enough in security, cybersecurity, is also one of the targets for various money schemes by locals, but a lot of international attacks, things like North Korea, Russia, and some other state actors have been playing around using their infrastructure in the banking sector. And then we have the critical infrastructure, which their energy grid is not that relevant as in let's say Europe and in US, because it's rather fragmented and very poorly developed. But they have their national petroleum company with their whole infrastructure for exploiting and transporting and exporting crude, which is very vulnerable and has been seen target of a lot of foreign attacks, cyber attacks, which mainly targeted information regarding their resources, contracts, and information of getting contracts in the oil and gas sector. So having these risks, they also have some important weaknesses, which unfortunately are making these attacks both very easy and secondly very severe as the information that is lost or stolen. The most important part is the capacity building. They have been investing a lot in new technology, but they have invested very little in enough qualified personnel. So that means that there is, you might find in some agencies last technology, like really latest technology in various defense areas for the cyber part, and misused or wrongly configured or not used at all, but with licenses bought and whatever is done there. Their policy area, even on the Nigerian CERT level, it's only implemented at the legal and strategic area. So there is no operations, there is no SOC, there is no infrastructure related to identifying incidents across the nation and across industries, across critical infrastructure. And there's a big discrepancies about regarding their strategies. They are every agency builds its own. There's conflict between information services. There's conflict between law enforcement, and they don't synchronize and they are not correlated together. Also, probably it's a cultural thing. There are a lot of things being planned, but very little are being also implemented because there is not enough expertise to implement it, and sometimes not enough money for resources, but I know they are expanding when they want to do it. So what areas we identified that we can collaborate as a country, and I say as a country because here there's multidimensional collaboration place for available. There are things relating to capacity building, so training their people in various areas regarding the cyber defense, cyber management, security, and other parts. Strategies and policies frameworks. Romania has already the European experience, has the NATO experience, has its own path in defining this defense, cyber defense and cyber security, which can be shared with our Nigerian counterparts. And of course, they need a huge, this is one of their stated goals. They need a lot of technology transfer. Yes, there's a lot to build across the world, but also Romania has a few assets which can be shared in exchange of other benefits. As I mentioned, Nigeria is a very strong African leader, and just having somebody at that level with that influence can help us in building more business, more geopolitical power and support in global affairs. What is my exact proposal? Just a second. You can see on the left, actually these are pictures of Nigerian students in the Maritime University taking some cyber-related lessons, which is the start of any collaboration. Academic exchange of students and of teachers. They are already open to do this, and we are waiting for some universities there to react to our proposals. Why do we expect these things to work is because there's a foundation between the two countries which gives us a unique selling proposition. We have a common history. We've been, let's say, the underdogs historically, at least before '89. We are seen as being part of the European elite. Europe is seen as a reference for them. We have the huge asset of neutrality. Yes, we collaborate with most global powers, and we also have the expertise to choose between the technologies to be implemented by them in the cybersecurity, cyber defense area. So the proposal of today is summarized here. There is opportunities on all the topics that you see on the slide, both government to government or business to business, business to government regarding cybersecurity. Trencadis is already on the ground, having the connection in all the areas that you see here and pushing some of our projects. Nigeria is not the usual Western country, so it takes time to generate projects. But there is already a sensitivity for Romania. We are already building a government-to-government project on cyber defense, and you will hear more from us probably in the next year to give you about the progress of this. So, if there is any interest in such collaboration, in going in partnership with them, as I said, from public agencies, from the universities, from the private players, Trencadis is more than interested to join these efforts and receive any partners in this. And we are open for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dragan, for this very interesting presentation, a very informed case study. I think that there is a huge potential there in Africa and in Nigeria particularly. I think that it should be a good opportunity for all those interested in investing in such a new environment to come together in order to promote a much more comprehensive integrated project. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now I will invite the Vice Rector, Professor Gabriel Raicu, to provide us his brief presentation as a host. So Gabriel, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's very hard to be a host and a presenter in the same time. Why? Because as an organizer, I want to spend a lot of time to congratulate the presenters, but our rules, our strict rules in a conference can sustain this kind of approach. First, also I want to 10 seconds to break the rules and thank you to all participants here, because I feel there is a great team, and a great team not for only one occasion, only for this occasion. Because together all those interested experts can manage to build a reliable, long-term collaboration in the field of cybersecurity. In our university, we are developing a lot of tools, a lot of programs, a lot of projects related to cybersecurity, and I think we can provide a very large and very broad framework to others and to other experts to participate inside. Also, I want to thank you also to Mr. Dragan from Tancadis for his open opportunity to collaborate with our university to provide the necessary aims and tools to understand what the Nigerian market is and how to proceed to develop a new kind of possibilities to offer education for a great African market. Well, but as I promised, I will try to be brief, and for this reason, I will start with my presentation. Yes. Well, when we are thinking to our session 2 title, Exploring Unpredictability and Embracing Uncertainty in the Maritime Cybersecurity at the Black Sea, maybe we can try to think about cybersecurity as a first non-natural threat to the global risk landscape, according to the World Economic Forum says. This is only going to get worse during time because of rising of cyber dependency and a dependency about new kind of tools, new kind of IT instruments. Everything what can we do has a cyber element inside and cyber risk embedded also. But it's important to understand how we conceptualize cybersecurity and what do you think is cybersecurity in the beginning? Because the cybersecurity touches us, because we are the weak link usually. I can show you, for example, last info about over the past months discoveries related to malicious Chrome extensions, which can be exploited also in maritime field, but also in related area and related sectors, for example, in logistic chain and also on other logistic phases in maritime industry. For example, we can cite here over 32 million downloads of these malicious Chrome extensions, which can be exploited right now, right when we are talking about cybersecurity and about different measures to be taken in order to secure our systems. Well, if I started with the history, I will start with 2011 with ENISA, but I will skip quickly for the next slide. Because starting from that time, there was a lot of risk, there was a lot of incidents, and there was a lot of other facts which can resume and recommend different kind of approaches and platforms to be able to address these risks. As a conclusion, in short, we can resume on the very, very simple idea. When we are building new ships, we must take the cybersecurity as a first, or maybe one of the first things, first important things and rules which can be embedded in that construction. However, we can note here a lot of incidents, starting with Port of Barcelona in 2018, continuing with Port of San Diego, and also the Maersk incidents, to number here only few. But let's see who are they, who are the attackers. because we are deeply involving in maritime field, and because I want to maintain a sort of easy to understand way of presence, I put here and I make a split between cyber crimes and APT-like crimes, because if we can take this taxonomy in our consideration, we can explain very simple and very easy where are they only opportunistic attackers or other kind of interest and other subterfuges in these stances. For example, if we can skip to the NotPetya and logistic chain impact, here we can see how the relations between different actors and different departments and different point of entrance in a very complex informatic system and overall speaking and kind of worldwide level informatic systems can be exposed and can be penetrated, but also how that was mitigated using, for example, the Ghana office, which can be used like a recovery tool due to their spatial conditions and at that time. But because I promised to be very short in my presentation, I will skip to the next slide, which is more related with Professor Zulan told us in his brief presentation, and also is related to the presentation of our distinguished guest, Mr. Ion Eftimie. Here you can see a different kind of threats related to an electric system, and maybe you are just curious what is the relation between electric system, between cyber and energy, and maybe the maritime field. The explanation is very simple. The maritime field acts as a connection interface, like a convergence zone between different kind of critical infrastructure. And saying that, I think we can develop a new kind and new way to think about cybersecurity in maritime, but not only maritime, but also in related industries. When we try to skip to a very focused and very narrow approach, we can remember about an incident which take part in Greece when someone paid for some cyber attackers to compromise kind of Wi-Fi bulbs. It's a very, very simple kind of IoT. It's a kind of gadgets. And using that point of entrance, they managed to obtain very valuable information from that Greek company. That information was used in the several attacks, not apparently directly related, which can put here a very good and very good light about the hybrid character of cyber security and cyber incidents, and how the cyber information could be used in various kind of attacks. Well, when we are trying to make some important things related to the International Maritime Organization, when we are trying to think about them as a regulatory and maybe as a source of solutions and ideas about how to prevent the cyber threats, we can see here a very healthy approach, because it's a kind of approach built on sustainable things. Because if we can become aware, if we can invest easily in education in cybersecurity, we can make the lead in protecting and assessing all the future cyber threats. Well, when we talk about cyber threats, maybe we can tend to speak of them at the past tense. It's not the case, because right now, as I presume in my first slide, a lot of these kind of threats are active right now. If you consult this slide, you can see only a few of these threats, which can be of here only as example, but the reality is much more worse in this field. Well, speaking about these threats, also start a new kind of thread in our minds, because also we need to think about how to address. It's very, very obvious. Until now, all the measures was insufficient at least, or maybe can make some paradigm changes with some proposals about how to approach the future risk in cybersecurity using a multi-layered architecture. This kind of architecture, which is based starting with awareness and finishing with live assisting of all activities supposed to be cyber unsecure, tends to address also the most important part of cybersecurity field, how we proceed to minimize the risk. However, the market try to find a lot of solutions, some of them based on artificial intelligence. Last year was a very great hype related to artificial intelligence, but also this year there are different approaches, a more practical approaches when someone is trying to think about the risk, which a new kind of risk which AI powered tools can bring to us due to the poisoning of the mechanism of artificial intelligence thinking and artificial intelligence reasoning engine. In other words, also the AI could be prone to manipulation like a human intelligence, but with much worse results in the end. For example, for me, starting from last year, I tried to make a little alarm in this field, because there are a lot of ways to alter this kind of artificial intelligence algorithm in order to become blind to different kind of attacks, or even like in slide is said, AI can be gone wild in time if some manipulations could be performed against this algorithm. Well, when I talk about the relation about critical infrastructures and the maritime industry, I'm refer here about kind of convergence. You can see that convergence in a sort of cyclic graph, because all related activities can be endangered by some other actors involved in the same operation, or even actors loosely coupled with maritime industry. Well, one of different approaches for mitigation in the future autonomous operation related ships is based also on AI training. It's a sort of training in kind of virtual captain. Also, this kind of approach could be in danger if some understanding on the maybe not well prepared algorithms are released to the market before they are thoroughly tested. But in order to become secure by design, we need to make and to boost the research facilities and the research algorithms. And I'm very happy because starting with this conference, we added some new sessions and some new panels also related to enhancing the capacity of research, because if we have research, we will have also solution. We can find a solution for the future risks. But because I promised in the beginning to be brief, I will skip to the last slide of my presentation. Thank you. I'm deeply open to all kinds of questions, and also I will remain open even after the end of this session, because I consider the community created alongside this conference during the 4th year's activity period is very, very important in the future to propagate a very good education and a very good research quality in the field of cybersecurity. Thank you, and I will present other things maybe after the question. Thank you again.
I would kindly ask you to help us by providing the last presentation in this panel today, which is the presentation, as I've mentioned at the very beginning of this panel, prepared by Mr. Mircea Constantin Șcheau. He was not able to join us today, but he sent us recording. And Mircea holds a PhD in public order and national security with a team of people for the economic and security domain, cyber crime regarding financial transfers. I would say that Mircea is the cybersecurity program manager with the I2DC2, our NGO. So Gabi, please help us by launching the last 10 minutes presentation today before the Q&A session.
Hello everybody. First of all, I'd like to send my best wishes to everyone and to congratulate the organizers for this special event. Really believe that was a huge effort. I'm glad to be next to you, even from afar, and I'll try to introduce as well as I can, the presentation Maritime Cybersecurity Case Studies from the Black Sea to the Global Ocean, sure based on your permission. I'd like to start by saying that cyber attacks affects information processing, information transmissions, and command and control systems. Implicitly affects maritime cybersecurity, and in this context must not forget that man is one of the most exposed elements to manipulation and methods of hacking. So please, but please don't ignore the old methods like spam, phishing, social engineering, and so on. All of us could be exposed. I'm telling this because most of the attacks start from a simple malicious email, like actions of invisible hackers which target high-profile military and diplomatic entities, according to Hacker News. Just a malicious mail, just a phish. ASAT, cybersecurity researchers uncovered, even from 2018, of an elusive threat group that hacked for espionage into the high-profile military and diplomatic entities in Eastern Europe. The threat actor has been active at least since 2013, something like this, in connection with targeted espionage, cyber espionage operations, sure, and return with updated toolset in collaboration with an advanced persistent threat group called Armageddon Group. We don't know if our common interest or just for a while collaboration. Anyhow, an emission of an APT like APT40 or APT32, just like examples, involves clear stages like initial compromise, establishing points of support, escalating privileges, and internal recognition. Lateral movement are essential for maintaining presence, and more detail could be studied about the way of acting of these APTs. Regarding of the subject, command and control servers are the basis of advanced cyber attacks. One of the groups that have been warned to exploit unencrypted satellite communications, named Turla, also known as Snake or Ouroboros, names which come from the class roots or class rootkit, or another name like Group 88, Venomous, Bear, or Wettering, or Waterburg is the same group, target government, military, technology, energy, and for sure commercial organizations. The group may action by their own power with their own resources, or may take control and use the resources of other ATP or ATPs like APT or APTs like APT32, also known as Helix, Kitten, or Oil Rig, to mask their own activity or to voluntarily increase processing power. Actually, Turla Group exploits Middle East APT to expand coverage of victims, advised UK National Cybersecurity Center. That's why US National Security Agency and UK National Cybersecurity Center join advisory on Turla Group activity. We don't know until now if it's a voluntary joint venture between APT from Middle East and Turla APT, but for sure was expanded the activity. Very recently, I read a document and I found out that signal intelligence, SIGINT, were intercepting satellite communications from a long time. The document was published in 1989. by Strategic and Defense Studies Center Research School and of Pacific Studies belonging to the Australian National University in Canberra. So it's old enough, the paper. Very interesting, also very interesting paper, which states that SIGINT was capable of monitoring the whole radio frequency spectrum on an almost global scale. I just invite you to make a comparison yourself with those mentioned above and just draw your own conclusions. Coming back from the sky, we'll talk about a little bit. We'll talk about an attack on the national water supply system of one of the countries in the Middle East that took place in April 2020. Action that is considered could have had a harmful and disastrous outcome, according to National Cyber Chief of that country. The reaction was no long in coming, and on the beginning of May 2020, the traffic on the Navy port area in the Middle East, near the Strait of Hormuz, was stopped and severely disrupted for some days. A number of private handling systems were damaged, and tens of ships loaded with containers were forced to wait outside of the unloading area. In the same way, taking control of advanced guidance system of a navy can lead to collision with difficult to anticipate effects. Just like an example, I don't claim that USS John S. McCain Navy ship's collision with the Singapore whale tank was caused by a cyber attack, but if you take in consideration the possibility of taking control of a navy port and the possibility of taking control of one ship or more ships in the vicinity of the port, of the navy port, the results can be absolutely disastrous. Just like it happened in the port of the Middle East, it can happen in any port of the Black Sea. I want to say that changes in the attackers' strategies impose adaptation measures. Telephony denial of service, TDOS, is just a concept that makes us believe that absolutely all communications can be blocked. In this case, incidents could not longer be reported in real time, and no rapid response unit could be coordinated efficiently. The danger considered that is real, and I think all levels can be exposed, especially that the crime as a service provides tools that allow even the exfiltration of important military data from many countries, from many institutions and many contractors, and that can endanger the security of the planet. Cyber packages, user manuals, and technical support are made available to those interested. This increases the number of enthusiastic cyber criminals, from which future soldiers are selected at the end. Hope that advanced technologies will solve some of these problems. Regarding communications, in 2016 was published an event about the launch of a quantum communications satellite on the orbit, which is supposed to make communications impossible to be intercepted or deciphered, decrypted. After almost 4 years from that event, the people are wondering if the communication photon systems are much more secure, could be hacked or could be put down or something like this. Artificial intelligence and machine learning could be also one of the solutions, only if the modules are tested in a very strict control environment before to be exposed in real life. And I want to repeat, only in a very strict environment, control environment. The two images speak for themselves. Machine learning has two sides, supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, which need human help, and unsupervised learning, when the machine learning is able to take own decision, could classify, could accumulate information and use it on the purpose. So the differences and similarities, I think, that are quite clear. And at the end, no solution should be considered infallible, but the elements of instability must be eliminated so that the analysis on alternative scenarios allows the delivery of results as close as possible to reality. Hoping I didn't bore you too much. Thank you all for your attention, and I wish you to enjoy all the very special information on the conference. Best regards.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabi. Now I would kindly ask all of you to open your web cameras, and I will pass the floor to Mr. Liviu Danila, who is going to lead the Q&A session, and also at the end of the panel, he is going to draw the conclusions today. Thank you very much all for attending this panel. Liviu, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I want to send all our thanks to main participants for today, especially for their presentation and point of view. For the people who don't me very know, I am still in my office here, and I want to make a few conclusions. I think it's something. Okay, I will try to put in order my microphone. It's okay. In few words, I want to make some conclusion that I'm still working around main clubs for Romania, which has been European Union and NATO. And cyberspace presents for policymakers with a set of challenges of a political and technological nature, from my point of view. As such, it also provides a space for misunderstandings and conflict escalation for deserves a more detailed discussion. As you know, as digital networks now constitute the backbone of our society's function, for example, in financial system, maritime transport, energy infrastructure, political system, communication tools, and so on, there is a risk that organized criminal groups or foreign governments will exploit their vulnerabilities. For example, for EU and NATO, due to the fact that criminal networks often operate in a several jurisdictions or receive support from a third country government, and that some cyber attacks might pose a serious threat to a state's security, potentially resulting in a military conflict. Now, for our days, the discussion about secure and safe cyberspace necessarily involves, I think, the diplomats and both military staff from the different partners. The need to think in the new manner and broad national security terms, and the possible response going beyond law enforcement, technical measures, or national borders brings diplomats and cyber soldiers in the new picture of our day. For us, for example, as Romania is member for NATO and EU, We know very well that a limited number of countries, including China, Russia, Iran, and so on, have the capacity to disable the computer system or power utilities, financial institution, aviation networks, and maritime guidelines. However, establishing in practice whether a cyber attack constitutes an armed attack, whether it constitutes legitimate use of force and how force may be employed, remains contentious among international and legal scholars for us. But I want to be back from our speakers, and I want to give the floor to whom have to pass more explanation or to give us some question in order to make a response for the different issues during the debate on our second panel of our fourth edition of the conference. Who is trying to have for us question or comments? Thank you. Over to you. Oh, in such case, I have to thanks again to all participants, and I want to hope that the third panel, which will be next this week, and hope that Vasile and Remus are still with us, and they will have the third panel of our conference. We'll give to them necessary time to fulfill some ideas, because we know very well that in the next part of the panel we have to discuss about legal framework, and now to understand how many challenges and how we have to approach to make for Black Sea area, for Black Sea zone, to make the necessary framework of legal approach on what is meaning of protect infrastructure, how to give the necessary database to all students and practitioners on the maritime side, how to realize for them the necessary attitudes for today. I want to thank you, and if nobody wants to fulfill any other comments for our panel, I will ask you to understand to all our visitors of today's conference to wish them a very healthy week, and hope that next edition of our conference help us to be on the real life in Constanța maybe, or in Bucharest. We will see. Anyway, we will wait for you to the third panel of conference, and we wish you all the best. Thank you very much for today, and thank you, Nico and Gabi and Ionuț and so on for your participation. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you also. It was very, very, very interesting edition, very interesting section, and I hope that good practice will become